Hi there, and welcome to a special edition of the Sam Sorbo Show. We're going to get right into it because I have a lot to share with you today. I just came back from CPAC, and that was an amazing experience, but there's so much to go through. So first of all, we will talk CPAC. Texas has just erased the mask mandate. That's exciting news. And also Hyatt Hotels is hitting back. Wait till you hear about what and how. Very good. And then we'll touch briefly on the president's speech. I'm going to get through a lot right now because I have 4 different guests that are coming on the show from CPAC directly. I'm very excited to do that because I've never actually brought my computer and recorded video. As you know, video's a whole new sort of venture for me. So this is all new. Bear with me, please, as I try to work out all the kinks and figure out all the tech stuff, but it's a lot of fun. So the Texas mask mandate. Governor Abbott just said no more mandate. And some people are speculating that he did that to scare away all the Californians that are coming into the state. I think I read that on the Babylon Bee. This is really good news. This is really good news because South Dakota never had a mandate. And in my great state of Florida now, the mandate has been sort of nebulous at best. And so I've been able to go shopping and do a bunch of things without ever putting a mask on, even though everyone else in the store is wearing a mask. It's crazy. Now, let's talk briefly about Hyatt. Ooh, because I have very little time here. So Hyatt Hotels, the Democrats are demanding that people boycott Hyatt Hotels. That's where CPAC was held, at the Hyatt. And by the way, you will see in all of the videos that people were forced to wear masks the entire time. In fact, I heard that Fleckus and DC Drano, who are both Twitter rock stars in the conservative movement, at least, and of course hated by the left, were both ejected from CPAC because of a sort of a tussle about them wearing masks, or them obviously not wearing masks, them refusing to wear masks. And while it's a business and the business can impose the restrictions that it wants, it's also discriminating. And in fact, apparently the Democrats are all for discrimination, which is, in keeping. I don't know why we should be surprised. They have always been in favor of discrimination. And it's just a question of who they're discriminating against. It used to be Black people. They used to discriminate harshly against the Blacks in favor of, for instance, segregation and slavery and all of those things. And now it's just a new form of discrimination against anybody who has a conservative bent, like Mike Lindell, or in this case, the Hyatt that hosted the CPAC event. So I just want to read you a brief thing here. The hotel said, a spokesperson, obviously, for the hotel said, Hyatt is committed to providing a safe and inclusive environment. In fact, they said this, they issued a statement that said, we take pride in operating a highly inclusive environment, and we believe that the facilitation of gatherings is a central element of what we do as a hospitality company. We believe in the right of individuals and organizations to peacefully express their views, independent of the degree to which the perspectives of those hosting meetings and events at our hotels align with ours. Our own values support a culture that is characterized by empathy, respect, and diversity of opinions and backgrounds. And we strive to bring this to light through what we do and how we engage with those in our care. CPAC's usually, obviously, hosted it just outside of Washington, D.C., but this year it was in my home state of Florida, not too far from me, and I was so honored to be able to attend. And in fact, I want to thank the CPAC hosts, so Matt and Mercedes Schlapp, and also Dave Moll who runs Radio Row, for allowing me to have my show there this year. That was just a great treat for me. And it was obviously a lot of fun. Okay, so moving on. The president's speech. I wanted to briefly address the president's speech because he did such an amazing job. And I'm sure you've heard the clips because everybody's playing the clips. I didn't line up clips to play because I didn't think it was even that necessary. They're padding. The most important part of the speech was right at the beginning. That's the part that the mainstream press isn't covering, in which he said, "We will not divide the party." Now, Mitch McConnell might want to go and establish a new party, but Donald Trump has the Republican Party. Why would he go and establish a new one? But that is the narrative that the media is promoting. And they're promoting it because they would like nothing better than for Donald Trump to go and start a new party. And so for that reason, I think that that's really the most important part of the speech that he gave. He touched on a number of things. He called out Democrats who are very clearly obstructionist and combative, and he didn't mince words. The thing that I love about Donald Trump's speeches is they're very well written, right? This was a very well written speech. And at the same time, he goes off book a little bit. And I know that that was a problem for him sort of as he progressed into politics from when he first began. But I think that that is part of his strong suit. And that's what people really appreciate about him, is he's not afraid to go off on small tangents or just make commentary on his speech as he's saying it. In other words, sort of reaffirming that he really means it. And I really admire that. And in fact, I'm doing more speaking again these days, and I feel like I should adopt that. What do you think? Should I, while I'm speaking, should I sort of make commentary about what I'm saying and say, you know, because this is what I believe and it's the truth? Okay, so coming up next, I've got some really fun guests that I managed to finagle to come and sit down beside me and have chats. And in fact, the last one was kind of interesting. She went off on some extra tangents. I wasn't quite sure what to make about it. You know, sometimes you just, you corral somebody or you lasso them in and they come and sit down in your chair and you think you're going to get one thing and then they go off in a different direction. In fact, I'm pretty sure, I was there promoting my book, Words for Warriors, which is doing very, very well, I have to say. And if you don't have your copy, you can go to samsorbo.com to get it. A lot of people have reached out and said that they won't purchase it off of Amazon. And so I've made it available on samsorbo.com. In fact, I will personalize it for you. I'm not above signing my signature and writing your name on it. But it's doing really well, and that's exciting for me. So we're shipping out more every day. It's kind of cool, frankly. I like to be listened to. I feel like I have something to say, and I'm appreciative that you're here, and also very grateful for you if you'll share this podcast with somebody else and help me grow the message, because my message is really all about speaking the truth. And that is exactly what the left does not want us to do. And you have to ask yourself, why are they so dead set against the truth? In fact, they're so dead set against the truth, they won't open schools. I'm in such a hard, in fact, I'll take any commentary that you guys want to send me about this. I get called about schools. I get called to do Newsmax TV and OAN and a bunch of others, right? To talk about school openings and shouldn't we open the schools? And I struggle because I don't think kids belong in school, because it's not good for them, because they're not teaching them good things. They're teaching the opposite of truth, beauty, and good. They're actually teaching the opposite of education in our schools. And I'm not talking about teachers. I think teachers really try hard, but I think we've been so misguided on education over the past 50 years. We've been misled. I will leave it there. We will cut now very roughly into the interviews that I did at CPAC. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of the show. All right. And I will see you next time on the Sam Sorbo Show. All right, we're back with my good friend, Deborah.
Hello, Sam.
So
It's
fun.
been too long.
I know. So she's been on my podcast. I've been on yours.
Yes.
And we've done, but since we kind of lost track a little bit.
Yeah, well,
She moved, I moved.
Yes, yes. We got out of the People's Republic of California. We escaped.
But we still live in the USSA.
We do.
And it's a little crazy making these days.
It is, but we got to stay and fight.
So, okay, so bring me up to date on all things Deborah Flora and the Flora family.
Oh, well, thank you so much for asking. Yes, so I have a radio show. I switched from a Christian women's radio program, which was good. It was syndicated, it was bringing up, but really the world's changed so much in 6 years since we started it. I mean, originally the biggest thing that we would talk about with women is dieting and self-image and, love languages. And now most women, moms, their biggest concern is my daughter going to come home as a son? So I switched. I know it's crazy to even say, but so I switched to a conservative news talk program on the Salem Radio Network because it's time for us to talk about the things we care about most and the direct correlation connecting the dots with what we need to do as citizens. I mean, really, we have to step up. And then every mom, dad, they're moms and dads first. Before they're Republicans and Democrats.
Yes,
every
it's true.
Christian woman engaged and realized the importance, then we could turn this thing around.
Okay,
So,
I want to ask you, is it also like foremost in people's minds to talk about because there's something that's so intriguing about the idea of changing your gender?
Well, honestly, I think there's an organization in Boulder, Colorado at CU, University of Colorado in Boulder, and it's called the We're Endeavor. And the amount of pressure that they put, the amount of influence, and their goal is to queer the classroom. I mean, that is to absolutely erase any sense of heterosexuality.
But there's seduction that's involved in all of this, right?
Well, and the reason why it's taking off, and primarily, as you know, with young teenage girls, is because the very definition of adolescence is I feel awkward in my body.
Right.
I don't really like guys paying attention to me. I want to feel like I have some kind of control.
Right.
And you know what's even worse? They're showing that disproportionately the people who are at risk of this gender confusion are autistic young people, somewhere on the spectrum. Because once again, the message is, if you're uncomfortable socially in any way, this is the answer.
And the problem is, because I've done a little bit of the science behind it.
Yes.
What happens is the girls feel uncomfortable, and because it's predominantly girls now. It's infecting the young female community. They feel uncomfortable in their own skin. They cry a lot.
Yes.
They're emotional. That's puberty, right?
Yes.
When they start taking the testosterone, it changes that. It makes them feel more powerful. It makes them feel stronger.
Yes.
Because that is what testosterone does. It makes them feel more aggressive.
Right.
And so they feel less vulnerable and less shy.
Yes.
And they think that they found the solution to all their problems.
And I think what you were talking about.
And then they tell other girls.
Yeah, exactly. And then you usually see it in pockets. And you're right. The allure of it is this lie that we have in our culture that if you don't feel good, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel pain, if you feel, I don't know, anything you're wrestling with, it's wrong. And therefore, there's a quick fix. And this is the quick fix. Take a pill. Change your gender. Do these drastic, crazy things. Instead of saying, you know what, it's a part of life to have difficulties.
Yes.
It's a part of life to work through these things. And the idea that there's an automatic fix.
In this world, you will have trouble.
Oh, yes, but do not be afraid. I've overcome it,
right?
Well, we need to teach our kids that resilience. Instead of the moment that there's an issue, take a drug, call mom.
Crumble.
Exactly. You know all the studies that right now at college campuses, the counselors can't keep up with it because they've all been taught, if I have a challenge, I call someone else. If there is a roach in our dormitory, call the police. I mean, that's actually happening on college campuses. So really, we've got to teach.
Wow, trust the experts.
Oh my gosh. We have got, well, they won't call the police now. They'll call the community
support,
whatever.
No, trust the experts unless it's the experts that the left says don't trust.
Exactly. Instead of teaching people resilience, you are going to feel awkward at times. That's part of it. And there's no magic pill. And the worst is this absolute social engineering we're doing with our kids. There's a really interesting group of people that are adult transgender people who aren't condemning it, but they're saying it's drastically wrong for kids because there's no science on it other than we already know it causes sterilization. That suicide rates go up. I can't even remember the astronomical amount after transitioning. So,
Right.
but the allure is I can avoid any discomfort, and there's some simple answer. Although changing your gender
Well, I
is not simple.
I think Rand Paul was asking the proposed Secretary of Health and Human
Yes.
Services if he believed in transgendering young children.
Right.
And if he was aware that Johns Hopkins had discontinued their whole transgender,
Right. The ones who started it.
the
all,
ones
the
who
first
started
ones.
it, right?
Yes.
They discontinued it because they found that it was incredibly ineffective at changing any of the psychological
Correct.
hardships that people were going through.
Yes.
That they contributed to attributed to their gender,
Yes.
and so they suffer the same suicide rate.
Yeah. And that's the pressure that is put now on parents. I was talking to someone who's working in this field. The pressure is a child, parents come with a child. If there's any hint that there might be anything, or even just, I don't know, discomfort or not fitting a norm. And we've narrowed our norms now. For girlhood is this, boyhood is this. If you're anywhere outside of that,
Right.
if you're a tomboy, oh no, you're actually transgender.
Right.
But the bullying they do to parents is, oh my goodness, wouldn't you
You're
have
a
a
bigot.
transgender child
Yeah.
than a dead child? Because they say they will commit
Oh wow.
suicide.
Oh wow.
It's so terrible and so heavy now. And the science though shows, the American Pediatric Association said that I think it's 85% of girls and 87% of boys, when they're children that experience any gender confusion, 85 to 87% outgrow it by the time they're teenagers. But they're not given that time.
No, of course not. Yes.
Yes, and I know you tell the story. If I were a young child today, and I have 3 older brothers, and I wanted to be Superman when I was 4, and I wanted to run around without a shirt, and I didn't know there was a difference between us.
Right.
Because there wasn't at that
Because
time.
you're 4.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm 4. My mom would say there's a difference, and I'm like, oh no, there's really not. But that was innocence.
Yes, of course.
Today they would say that's gender confusion.
Right.
And there, let's, as we know, there is a very small percentage of people who truly have gender dysphoria.
Right.
Well, then let's deal with that instead of projecting this upon all of these other young people. So.
Right. It is the tradition of the left not to want to heal people, but to want to break the healthy.
Yes, exactly. And to think that there's a utopian, easy fix for everything, and you should never feel bad. It's kind of
And you should never feel bad. Yeah, exactly.
That's where resilience comes from.
We got off on an interesting tangent, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I love the conversation. However, let's catch up on you. So you're on Salem.
I'm on Salem.
And it's 3 hours every Sunday?
It's 3 hours, 1 to 4 every Sunday. It's on the news talk station in Colorado, 710 KNUS. But anybody can hear it at 710KNUS.com/Deborah. So I'm doing that.
Is it just you? Do you have a co-host?
It's just me.
Okay.
It's just
very
me.
good.
I know, 3 hours of talking at a bash, but great guests. So I'll have you on again very soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then we are, my husband Jonathan and I, who was he's now a liberated former producer at Disney, able to do things he really cares about. We have 2 companies, Lamplight Entertainment, which is television, film, entertainment based. And now we have another company called Whetstone Media Group, like a whetstone that you sharpen with, WHET. And that now we're doing persuasive messaging. And in this day and age of like COVID and small businesses being absolutely, really thrown to the wind, we just did a really interesting series of messaging campaigns showing the face of business. And it's, it's people of great diversity and backgrounds and all sorts of things. Not the vilified monopoly guy with the monocle and the hat that wants to make business out to.
Mr. Banks.
Money
bags Banks.
Exactly. Yeah. The point is, business is your neighbor, your friend, in your community. It's your, your sister, it's whoever. So we're doing all of that and then trying to save the Republic. How about you?
Trying to save the nation.
A little light stuff there.
Okay, last question. Tell me about CPAC. And why should people, not that we're doing a CPAC commercial, but I do think that it's important for people to get engaged.
Yes.
And one great way to start to get engaged is to come to a place like this and meet like-minded people and understand you are not alone.
Yes, it's so important. It's so important.
What did I tell you? I ran into Deborah in the hall this morning and I said, I'm so excited because I'm seeing warriors rising up. And these are people who are not warriors. They don't want to be warriors, but it's gone that far where they're saying, okay, I have to make a difference. I got to do something. People, and so this is a new thing for me and I haven't actually shared it with my audience yet. But, people say to my husband and to me, well, you guys have sacrificed so much. And I started to push back on that.
Yeah.
Initially, I was like, well, but I started, no, I'm not the one who's sacrificing.
No, it's
The people who are sacrificing are the people who are compromising their values and morals in order to get along.
oh my goodness, because they're sacrificing their soul.
Right.
I mean, that's not
Right.
the way to live.
One day they're going to wake up and go, holy crap, I could have said something and I didn't.
And now it's too late.
And now it's too late,
like,
right?
It's like that old phrase,
Yeah.
they came for the
Yes.
so-and-so and
Right.
I wasn't that,
That
so I
wasn't
didn't
me.
stand up. So that's exactly the thing. The reason why it's so important to come to places like CPAC is because one of the rights they're trying to take away is the right to assemble. Why is that? Where were our founding principles founded? They were literally in the churches and in the pubs. Because something happens when people come together and they speak freely.
That's great.
I mean, it really was. If you look at where all of that came from, so they learned from their pastor about the principles of the founding.
Well, the
They'd
pastors used to be the newspapers.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And then they would go have a drink to talk about it, So you could do that without alcohol if you want to, but it's the gathering together. So
Yeah.
if you think about it, what have they been trying to do lately? And I don't mean they as in people with a different, D or an R. I'm talking about those with an ideological agenda to deconstruct our Constitution. Stop the right to assemble. It is hugely important. They want to shut down
Unless you're
churches.
rioting for BLM.
Oh, yes, exactly. Or you're trying to cross the border and you don't need a COVID test at that point in time at
Yes.
all. So the reason why it's so important to get together is because it's like the phrase we used to talk about, liberty loves company. There's something when you come together with free people and you talk and the energy, and you're right, who we see here are average everyday citizens who for the last several decades were busy raising their families, running their businesses, just living their life.
Yes.
But now everything has been politicized. They realize the risk that is at hand, and they're coming together and they're saying, I'm showing up for duty.
Yeah.
So we all can, and that, you're right, what those who oppose freedom want to do is separate people, divide and conquer, have you be defeated and think, well, we're just fading into that sunset of socialism. Well, heck no.
Heck no. Not on my watch.
No, Dan Bongino shared a great quote yesterday. I think it was from Aeneas, the Greek philosopher, and it was basically, the victors are only victorious if the vanquished admit they are so. So in other words, if we don't admit it, if we don't give in, we're
That's right.
actually not vanquished, because the vast majority of Americans actually want the same thing.
That's right.
We still have the freedom to stand up for it and to assemble, and so we just have to do it. Practice those rights or they atrophy.
Yes, exactly. Well said. All right, we're gonna pause it right there. Hey, thank you so much for coming in. It's great to see you.
You too.
And people can find her, say it again, on Salem.
It's you can go to Facebook at Deb Flora Show, the Deborah Flora Show. You can hear all about it, or it's 710knus.com/Deborah.
Right.
That's where to find it.
All right, quick break for me, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. I'm back here with Dan the Ox Oxner. And I asked you about this before. Where'd that nickname come from? Is it just a straight from your last name, Oxner?
Well, I'm about 320, 6'8". I just wear dark clothes to try to, look slimmer.
And the horns? Where are the horns?
Yeah, they don't really come.
Do they retract? They're retractable?
That's really more of a myth. That's
Okay.
for radio. I'm a radio guy.
The horns are the myth.
Right. So now that we're like on the camera, they can see that I really don't have it.
So Dan's a radio guy. He's a staunch conservative. He's here at CPAC, obviously. I did your show earlier. I think Kevin also.
Oh, we had the best 20 whole minutes
Yes,
just
it was
chatting
a
with
lot of
these
fun.
two, and it was great.
And
what a great team.
We're really enjoying CPAC. And I wanted to show people, he brought me this present.
How y'all doing?
Here we go. We're recording. So this is, I am not the ox. And by the way, yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, people just come up.
in
Yeah,
and
I don't know. So,
talk.
Yep.
But I know him. I just love it.
You too can have one of these
You
shirts.
can also get
I
one
don't
of
know
these
how, actually.
shirts.
Yeah, somehow.
If you know him.
God, if you know the ox, you can have one of these shirts.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit serious, because we're here at CPAC and there's some serious things happening in our culture. And so, well, first of all, how is this CPAC different from, say, last year or the year before?
Well, the weirdest thing about this CPAC, besides the masks,
Yes.
and we could go into that whole thing too, right? There's masked
Well,
people
and
that.
I'll point out, you can see as people walk in the background, we're forced to wear masks. And the reason that I say forced, because obviously no one's like standing there, they do come up and they do correct you if you don't wear the mask, and they will expel you.
Really?
And not allow you to come back. Oh yeah, you didn't know that.
No.
So
they said they would, but
that's
I never.
because you're part of the elite, Dan.
Well, I'm the ox.
Because you do the show.
Yeah, what can I say?
And
Right.
By the way,
Just
you see the red barriers, okay? So on the other side, on that side of the red barrier, COVID. On this side of the red barrier, when you're doing interviews and stuff, no COVID.
It's just like in Minnesota, right? COVID
Yeah.
waits outside the bars and restaurants
Right.
until 10 p.m.
Well,
That's why
see-
we have to close at 10, because if we're open until 10:01, all of a sudden COVID comes in.
Well, you know, Kevin tweeted that, right?
No,
He
I missed
said-
it.
He said, I almost
Great.
got COVID the other day. This was right after Gruesome put through the 10 p.m. curfew.
Oh, yeah.
And Kevin tweeted, I almost got COVID the other day, but I made it home by 9:59. Whew!
Beautiful. That's great.
That's why
That's
they took
so-
his Facebook down.
Yeah. Oh, that was it, huh?
Well, no.
Well, that and among
No,
other
they never said why. Facebook never said why.
speaks the truth.
Well, they don't have to say why because they're the elite and they get to do whatever the heck they want.
But so
Okay.
CPAC, right?
CPAC,
What's
yeah.
different about CPAC is that in previous years, in most years really, it's kind of an audition for who wants to be president.
Right.
You're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
see a lot of people that are running for president or thinking about running for president,
Yes.
big names.
Even in off years,
Yep.
you still see people sort of vying.
Yep.
But we're kind of
Not
stuck in
happening.
a holding pattern right now.
It's true. We haven't had that in 4 years because we had a first term president, so you
Right.
don't want to step on his toes.
Right.
Now he's out of the White House.
Right.
But he's
not really
indicating
out.
that he's like gonna get back in.
Exactly.
So nobody's willing to come around and say, "Hey, I might be running for president."
Yeah, no one's going to try to duke it out with him.
So very different
and he's
flavor.
speaking. He's speaking tomorrow.
Yeah, what
Which
a
is
wild
exciting.
thing. And a very, again, that's the other thing. CPAC is normally Thursday, Friday, and a little bit on Saturday.
Yes.
This year it's basically
changed it.
Friday, Saturday, and a lot on Sunday.
Yeah, I think when he said that he was going to speak, they
Changed
change everything around.
And he's the last speaker, so there's a lot of people whose flights are probably wheels up long before he actually gets on stage. We didn't know that. But now you can
Oh,
actually
right.
change
Yeah,
flights
exactly.
with the airlines,
No, it's true.
right? Way easier than before. So there's
See,
probably a lot
there,
of people
there
doing
are
that.
benefits from COVID. You
What?
just haven't really.
What a difference in the airlines.
Somebody
huh?
ought to make a list of the benefits of COVID. No, seriously,
Yeah.
homeschooling.
And you are the homeschooler. I
Always
love that
top of
passion
my
of yours.
list.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, where can people find your show and why should they listen to you?
You know what? We're a conversation. I'm not a preacher. There's a sun and the moon philosophy, right? Some people want to just have the sun radiating at them ideas. Here's the sun. I got all this. I'm more of the moon. I want to reflect back to you, the listener, what you're kind of already thinking. Things that, so when I'm talking, you're thinking, wow, I was just thinking that, and I'm kind of bouncing it back to you. And we like to
That's
really
true.
open
That's
up
what
the
I love
conversation.
about your show.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yep.
Because it just reaches out like your friend, and your friend is just telling you, no, you should go do that thing, or no,
Yeah.
I love that dress on you, or whatever. Although you've never complimented my clothing. and I
Forgive
don't
me.
know why.
Yeah, but again, it is radio, so we could say anything we want.
True.
Yeah. I could be lying, right, and you wouldn't know. So I try to be
Uh-oh.
genuine. Right.
You
So if
better.
we're on TV, you can see she's perfectly dressed impeccably all the time. Very fashionable.
You're lovely.
But yeah, knSIradio.com is our website, knSIradio.com. You can
Great.
find me, and we broadcast through Minnesota.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure, Sam.
We'll be right back.
Hi, what's up? What's up, sister?
So I'm getting different people to
Hi.
sit in my chair here, and then I'm just editing them out.
Okay.
And so I say goodbye, and then I stop recording, and then a new person's in the chair,
Well,
and I
there you
start
go.
recording, and I go,
Okay, I thought it was that scary looking. I'm like, I hope I did my hair, my makeup. What's wrong? What's wrong?
Tina Griffin is the counterculture mom, and we went to Israel together, and it was
fantastic.
amazing.
It was amazing.
And we've done some other things together over the years, but it's great. So the podcasting thing and the video gives me this ability to have people on, face to face, which has been great.
Absolutely.
But to sit here face to face at CPAC is very
Yay!
cool.
No more
So-
Zoom.
No more Zoom.
No more Zoom.
But
And we're not wearing a face mask.
Yes, that's
I
true.
know. Forgot what you look like there. For
I
a
could
minute.
almost kiss you, but I won't.
No, we're gonna have our phones will be dinging from our men.
That scared her.
Yeah, I know. It's like, hang on a second. Did you see my latest alert?
Okay, so Tina does stuff to help parents practice discernment with regards to their children, and particularly social media, but all media.
Absolutely.
Maybe not particularly social media in general. So tell me where you are. She's got this fabulous app,
Yes.
that is on the phone, and it features my book right now.
Got that right. We got to make sure we got some positive mixed in with the negative. There is a lot going on. So we put this app together because, as you know, when you and I get done speaking on stage, we have a line of people that are hugging us, crying, shaking our necks, saying, I wish I would have heard about this last week.
Yeah.
And so to keep people connected, praise the Lord, we thought about this two years ago now, is to create an app, because that way, if you speak once and you're done, or you put stuff on social media, these parents don't have a chance to continue to get your information. By having an app, we have a chance for them to actually get this information constant, which really helps. And pop culture is constantly changing. So, they hear my trends one week, a month later, it's something new.
Right. Exactly.
So
the app just keeps you updated.
absolutely.
So what's the latest? Do you have something that's the latest that you want to share with them?
We've got cancel culture, preparing for cancel culture. Buckle up, it's gonna be one heck of a ride. We're talking about the fact, there's one of our recent alerts, if you guys can see that.
It's a little hard to see.
A little hard to see. We got to download the Counterculture Mom app so you guys have it. But basically, the left is trying to right now completely take down OANN, The Blaze, Newsmax, all the credible,
all the credible conservative outlets.
The last 6 outlets we've basically got left. And so they're trying to silence them now. We can't even have a freedom of speech with a couple little platforms we got left. So it's important that parents know, where can you get credible news? And right now with big tech censorship, it's really hard to get quality factual news. And the other issue we've got with the app is we've got suicides that are taking place on TikTok live. So kids are watching these suicides take place, having nightmares at night. We just talked about that on Dr. Duke, Freedom Project Media. We've got transgender issues. We had an 11-year-old boy that started a clothing line with his dad. His dad pretty much pushed it on him. He's reading from a note card. So you know what the kid was being kind of coerced into saying, I'm a boy, but I think I want to be a girl. I'm going to create this swimsuit line. So we've got all these teens watching these YouTubers, these celebrity children, thinking maybe I should be the opposite sex here. And they're pushing this whole gender dysphoria on these kids. They're pushing a clothing line that's enforcing it and endorsing it. So these are things that parents need to be aware of, what's going on with their kids. Snapchat too, we have a recent kid that drug overdosed, and his mom was a doctor that was good friends with Oprah, and she got on major news media and was sharing last week about how her son, I believe he was 14, straight A student, met a guy through Snapchat, and he was a drug dealer. He didn't know it, brought drugs over to the house, and the kid overdosed. First time he's ever tried a drug.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep up with this stuff too.
Yeah,
so
it is. That's why you do what you do.
That's why we have this app. And so constantly every day we feed these stories out, good and bad news. And we've got your amazing book on there. We've got TV shows that are excellent.
Right, resources. What else is out there? What can you do that's positive?
What's positive? So we have Rush Limbaugh, rest in peace, buddy. You're looking up from above, smiling down. We have Rush Limbaugh's books that are out there. I didn't even know he did this much positive education for young people. I had no clue. He dies and all of a sudden everything surfaces.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been a slacker, like I did my posse wrong. But now we know about these books. We blast them out there to help counter the negative entertainment that's currently out there.
Yeah. They actually have a card here or something to show appreciation for his widow and stuff to honor her. So, okay. So you've got that. Where can people find you?
Yes, well, you can look up counterculturemom.com, but the best spot is if you download the Counterculture Mom app. We have 21 people now on our team. I went from a woman of one for 19 years, almost lost all my hair because I just couldn't do it all. You know what it's like living on the road. And homeschooling 4 young children, which I tried to stop homeschooling them, and you were the one that told me, how dare you? So I started homeschooling them there. It was that 1 month gap. Literally, you guys, you have to understand how she works, okay? She doesn't beat around the bush, you know that. So I'm like, I can't homeschool my kids anymore. And I knew it was wrong. I dropped my kids off at a public school. It was right when I was moving. So I'm not trying to justify my nasty actions, but I was moving from Missouri to Nashville. And I'm like, I can't handle packing up an entire house plus homeschooling kids. I'm just going to give them to the school system for a while, let the government own them for just a little bit. I dropped them off at school, and literally, it wasn't God that I was worried about right away. It wasn't even my husband. I'm like, what is Sam Sorbo going to think about what I did? I'm not kidding.
So we met at a Moms for America march or, speaking thing.
Yep.
And she comes up and we're just having a drink at the restaurant, hanging out for a little bit. And she says, oh, I want to talk to you about homeschooling because I know you're into
Oh, I
homeschooling.
remember that.
And literally talked my head off, convincing me that she should be convinced to homeschool. Like, it was the weirdest thing. It's like all I had to say was, yeah, sure. She's like, but then I bet you're going to say this, and then I think you're going to tell me that, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was. And then she started homeschooling again.
I started homeschooling, but when I dropped out of public school, you made me feel very convicted from a distance. You didn't even know you did. I went home, I cried in my driveway in my truck. I said I did the wrong thing. I lasted a month. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. My kids share enough stories where I knew that I had to pull them out of public school. I just had to justify. I had to solidify my thoughts on public school.
Yes.
And you and I spoke at another event about a month later. You said, what in the world are you thinking? And I texted Luke, my husband, and I said, we're homeschooling again, starting tomorrow. So homeschooling is the right route.
I started and then felt awful about it. I didn't feel awful about it. I just thought I can't give them the Christian education that I think that they should have. So I took them to a Christian school, cried the entire way home, and then 6 weeks later pulled them out. I just needed to be convinced. We need that thing, that final thing that says, nope, you did it. And somebody said to me, isn't it wonderful that God allowed you to make that mistake to prove to you that you did the right thing, or that you're doing the right thing?
Absolutely.
And it was after that mistake that I never looked back again.
Absolutely. And, a lot of moms, especially during COVID, going from a team of 1 to then 4, and then by August we had to hire more. We're up to 21 people now on the team. We couldn't keep up, and I know you had the same thing happen, which is a good thing. Everybody started blowing up our social media, our inboxes, our emails, our text messages, Facebook Messenger. I don't even want to look at it. I have a heart attack when I see the inbox. But it's because parents are like, hang on a second. We now have our kids at home doing public school online education,
Yes.
having to sign waivers that we can't even go in our kids' rooms to see what they're learning.
Not allowed to see.
We're going to go in, we're going to do some research to become our undercover FBI agents. And now we have a lot of moms asking for the information we've been giving for 2 decades. Now they're awake.
Yeah.
And now we have to be crafty because big tech is now taking down the words that we've been sharing for 20 years.
There's a thing that I think it was on Facebook. I'm going to send it to you, and I'm going to share it with a little trepidation because there's some very nasty language in it. A mom reading from a book that's what's the word? I can't even, assigned in 12th grade. I'm not even going to say the word here, but it's so blatant. It's such pornography. It's not even porn. It's alternate porn. I mean, this is the crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff.
And this is a mom who just said, enough's enough. And she went and spoke out and she read from the book. And I've seen that done before. And the more parents get involved, but here's what you have to understand. The beast is hateful. The beast hates, okay? If you poke the beast, it will come down on you.
Absolutely.
And you should not be afraid.
Not at all.
You should expect it and you should welcome it.
And to go with your story, I don't know if it was the same mom, but there was a mom that at midnight, they were trying to pass some really vulgar laws for sex education up in Washington. And they held this
is
case.
In Texas. So.
Well, this in Washington, it was like a couple months ago. They held the case at midnight so people wouldn't show up, wouldn't know about it. But a mom found out and went, and she started reading from the very curriculum that they wanted to pass. And they stopped her in the court and said, you cannot read this. It's too vulgar, too horrific for.
But it's okay to.
And I'm like, you're going to teach it to a 10-year-old?
Right.
Are you nuts?
Right. That's exactly
what hypocrisy is going on right here?
So she said you might want to have your children exit the room, and then she just plowed right through it. And what was so sort of encouraging to me is that she's just a mom, and it was really hard for her to read. You could tell it was hard for her to read those words, but she was like a horse to the barn. She's like, I'm going to plow through this. They need to hear it. I'm going to say it. And now it's up on Facebook for however limited amount of time it will be there.
And I'm hoping it encourages other people because I found that last year, I've been doing research on the elites, the New World Order for about 27 years, and who runs the globe at the moment, which we know they lose in the end. Yay. Let's hope they get saved. And I'm praying for some people. I got a hit list of hit list. That's not a good word to use.
It's a prayer list.
Prayer list. Okay. Of like the top 20 people. If they were gone, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems we got today. But last year, I did so much extra research on COVID, knowing it was a total chaos, total made up story and fabrication for 20 different reasons why. For the end time prophecy, what God says it'll roll out in the book of Revelation, and we're almost there. But the wild thing for me is I was absorbing so much info that God got a hold of my heart last fall and said, okay, you got enough dirt, you know what the problem is for the most part. I just want to encourage people watching this. It's important to stay updated, knowledgeable about what's going on in our culture, but don't let that also be a distraction for the enemy to use where you're constantly researching and not giving. So I started taking people to lunch, people that I know that don't know the Lord, just so I can share with them, hey, COVID's chaotic, but it opens the door for people to say, yeah, and I just don't know where we're going to end up, and I don't know where I'm going.
And
what's the answer? Who's the answer? And so, do more witnessing and maybe a tad bit less research. At least that's what God's been telling me lately. So that's why we're here, to do more witness. And
I'm here for research also.
yeah, I am here for research too. Actually, I'm digging up dirt on you guys.
That's the thing to do.
I'm watching you.
Let me know if you find it.
Okay. But it's important to do both. And I think with the masks, it causes us too to be afraid to share with people. They want to separate us. And so we just got to look at the lies for what it is and what the enemy's trying to do to sever and divide instead of bring together, unite. And I just want to help educate parents too. Sam, you know this full well. For 27 years now, doing research on communism and the takeover on American soil, 14 to 15 of those goals that they wrote back in 1963, 45 goals written, 14 of them pop culture related. That's why we have to hammer home pop culture, because these kids are growing up thinking socialism is the way, Marxism, communism, not having a clue what that is, don't know what the Holocaust is. They rewrote the textbooks. They're doing pop culture that's owned by China. We have to know, and through the Counterculture Mom app, you guys will get the dirt on what you want to refrain from letting your kids see, because it changes their worldview. And if you're thinking, oh man, my kid talks back to me, constantly swearing, low grades, low self-esteem, no friends, isolated, I highly want to suggest pick a positive media diet, give it a couple weeks, and see if that doesn't help that kid have a higher self-esteem and find their purpose in life.
Yeah, so the narrative, the Judeo-Christian narrative is that everyone has value and they are valued by their Father in heaven.
Absolutely.
And the secular humanness narrative is that no one has value because they're all accidents of nature. And so it's no wonder that these kids who come out of the secular school system don't believe that they are worth anything.
Right.
Feel worthless.
Right.
And then where do you go from there? It's all downhill. So I love what you're doing. I want to thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Tina Griffin, Counterculture Mom.
Yes.
And go get the app and all that good stuff.
And the last thing I would say is get our free entertainment media guide for parents with thousands of positive entertainment options. We've got helplines in there too. We've got positive comedians. We got positive books, uplifting comics.
And also, if you have any commentary, you can send it to her. Any things that you're noticing, because she's also collating all of this stuff to track it.
Absolutely. So get the guide by texting the word guide to 55444. Guide to 55444, and you'll get that free entertainment guide. Sam, you rock.
Tina Griffin, thank you. Kidding. It's the magic of editing. So Tina's gone and you're sitting here now.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. So Kimberly Lowe is a mom who homeschools her 3 kids. She's here at CPAC. Is this your first CPAC?
This is my first CPAC.
And she's running for public office.
Correct.
And so she is my new hero, because she has a heart for kids and she sees a need in the community, and she's running on a platform that involves the foster care system and the fact that our foster care system is engaged in trafficking. It's hard to say, and it's the system itself, but it's the people in the system. It's the fact that the system facilitates the people. It's terrible.
So the family is the foundation of America. And if you don't have a strong family, our country is being deteriorated and destroyed. we are actually spending our tax dollars destroying the American family. We have really bad federal policies that we are paying into. We're spending $29 billion per year taking children from poorer families instead of reallocating that money to work on sustainability like substance abuse issues, job training, housing issues, mental health issues. Sometimes families have a rough time. A family is always going to have some type of crisis, but there needs to be help for our families. But instead, we take our most vulnerable, remove children from their home with no due process, and parents never see their children again. The state is paying millions of dollars in order to continue this system. And the only way to really stop it is to reallocate that funding through a federal policy called the Adoption and Safe Family Act. And there's more that's going on that's really horrible. 88% of the children that the U.S. Marshal Service have gotten back from being trafficked came out of the foster care system. Those are shocking numbers, but we're missing hundreds of thousands of children per year.
88% of children rescued from trafficking
Came
were
out of
foster
care.
children.
Correct. Yeah, it's horrifying. And it's really sad because we do need good foster homes, but there has to be a better process. So I'm writing comprehensive legislation that can be replicated across the country in order to reform CPS and the foster care system, Child Protective Services, and the family courts. The family courts is another really big one. It's a billion-dollar industry. Everyone has failed at attempting to reform this because it's such a big money business. Basically, parents get pinned against each other and they're fighting against each other. The court chooses a good parent and a bad parent. They know that one of the parents is going to continue to fight for their children. But when you walk into a courtroom, you lose all of your constitutional rights. You lose your children, you lose your home, you lose all your assets, you spend all your money paying just to try to keep going, and they will keep you in court year after year after year.
Who keeps you in court, though?
The judges and the attorneys. It's a cottage industry. You have to go through all these hoops in order to be a parent. Sadly, most of the professionals have left the court system. When we had really good psychiatrists and psychologists, a lot of those people have left. They're using people who are not as well trained, and it's a really horrible system where they will
How do you reform that, though?
We are attacking this at a multi-angle direction. So a lot of this can be solved outside of court through mediation. One of the things that does not get addressed well in family courts is domestic violence. A lot of the times, children are being put with their abusers. We've had over 800 children in America who have been murdered at the hands of their abuser, even though this information was presented in court. Training the judges isn't going to help. We've seen that. So what we're trying to do is we have a pilot program in Virginia where we're trying to move things outside of court through mediation, but a way that deals with abusers, that can help people and protect children. It's important we protect our children and also keep our families as strong as possible.
How did you get involved in this? You're a lawyer.
I'm in law school because of what I've been through. I was actually a public school teacher. I was a homeschooling mom. I'm still a homeschooling mom. I have two boys, 11 and 13, and my daughter is 15. But my husband abandoned me and our children at the beginning of 2017. He has not seen our children since, but he has kept us in family court. I'm on year 5. I still can't get a final divorce because they don't want to give us a divorce. They've done everything. They've taken my home. I can't keep a bank account in my name. The judges perpetuate everything. I'm actually part of something called an address confidentiality program, having been a survivor of domestic violence. And the last judge told me if I didn't give my abuser my address, even though I was protected under state laws, that he would throw me in jail. So, I mean, it's a really crazy system. They don't follow any laws. What's most disturbing is that families have no one to turn to. They don't have advocates. All sorts of crimes can be committed at the civil court level. and there's no one to go to. Attorneys aren't going to help you. The Attorney General's office is not going to help you. The Department of Justice. What I would like to do is I'd like to have a federal bureau that has oversight and jurisdiction over our courts, because no one has real jurisdiction over the courts or oversight. So that way we can go back and start to reunify these families. We have parents that are still trying to get their children out of foster care right now. We have families separated due to poor family court practices, and we have to stop putting a Band-Aid on it. We have to fix it.
So it's fascinating because I just heard of a case of a 5-year-old who threw a tantrum, and the teacher decided that that was inappropriate behavior and had the child Baker acted. And the police officer who came to take the child out of the school to put the child into an insane asylum for 72 hours, 48 hours, whichever it was, he was saying under his breath, you could hear him, he was just saying, this is wrong, this is wrong. But it seems like so many people are kind of tied by the system that the system is the thing that's getting in the way.
Correct. So we really need to remove social workers out of our schools. Schools are trafficking children. Children are being removed from homes.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. They're grooming children. I'm not saying, because I have no evidence that they're actually
we have
trafficking.
evidence of some of this. You can look up some of this data. Ask is an organization in Virginia. We found that at least one child from every single school had been trafficked just from the school system.
What's the organization?
It's called ASK,
Oh, it is.
Ask
Okay.
in Virginia.
And had been trafficked how? Give me an example.
I guess they must get groomed and they're moved out. But more importantly, what they're not talking about with that data is the number of children that are being removed from homes based on false accusations. Because the problem is there's so much money coming in to take children from families that it makes people do really evil things.
So, and it's interesting because in the news recently, prior to the election and a little bit after the recent election, we were seeing more and more of these human trafficking busts happening. It's almost like the former administration was very involved in trying to combat human trafficking.
Yeah, let me bring that up real quick. That Trump actually put in a human trafficking division, and Biden is trying to dismantle that right now. We know wherever there is drugs, there is human trafficking. Human trafficking is bigger than drugs. It's happening in your backyard. It's happening everywhere. I have a ring going from Virginia all the way up to Alaska. We have, let me give you an example too.
What does that mean? I have a ring going from Virginia to Alaska.
We have involvement of children being moved from Virginia to a pipeline to Alaska, where then they're moved out of the country.
You have evidence of that.
These are things we're working on. The problem is that there's no one safe to go to. So I formed a coalition with legislators across the U.S., and we're trying to find a safe path. Because a lot of the times you have these organizations that say that they're against trafficking when they're very much so involved. I have a case in Virginia where a mother learned that her beautiful children in her Christian home were being trafficked in the community through their church, and it was ritualistic. And I don't know what your viewers
define
are
trafficked, because
so in the
to most
at
people
nighttime,
it
let me
means
explain.
that they're taken across a border somewhere.
So in the evenings, the children were being taken out of the home without the mom being aware. They were set up in a local barn with elders in their church to do certain acts. It was very ritualistic. It had obviously been going on for a very long time. The mom decided to try to get away to safety with her children. And because so many high up people were involved with what was happening, the U.S. Marshal Service actually picked the children up from her, even though there's something called an underground railroad, and it's a safety protection program for families that need some type of protection from these situations. After she had been gone for a period of time, the U.S. Marshal Service picked her and the children up, and they put the kids in the same exact spot where they had evidence of what was happening to these children. Carol Lieberman, isn't she a psychiatrist from California? She's very renowned. She has interviewed the children and confirmed a lot of this. Currently, the mom is separated from the children. She desperately needs help, but there's so many people in high positions where you really can't fight it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to form a coalition to try to solve this. I mean, I don't feel safe going to the state police. I know not to go to the FBI. We're
Well,
not,
it's like
a
it's on
hard
an
route.
yeah, it's a hard route, and it's on an individual basis of the people that you can trust.
Correct.
But I think it's commendable, and we appreciate knowing that people like you exist that we can support. So you're running for public office in Virginia,
Correct.
and I don't know what percentage of my audience is in Virginia.
That's
but
okay. Well, I mean, Congress is national. I'm running for Congress. The decisions we make in Congress affect us all. My end goal is to help people. You can learn more about me at KimberlyLowe.com. It's KimberlyLowe.com. My slogan is Make a Difference. I'm bringing jobs to lots of states. We have a coal industry. I know you have to go soon. I'm about to go down like a rabbit hole. We have a coal industry that's dying. There's about to be generations of people without jobs. So I'm working on a project which would revolutionize. It's something called graphene. It's going to revolutionize the products that we use. It's stronger than steel, and we're going to try to take that industry in a different direction. So all those people in the states that have the coal industry that's dying, they're going to have some type of job. So we're doing really cool stuff. We're bringing rural broadband. I just care about people, and I'd love to have any type of support, mostly to bring awareness to these issues so we can save our families and make them as strong as possible.
love that. Your slogan should be making families stronger.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on the program.